Hi guys, let's really get started with our collage because in part 1 and 2 we didn't get started with the collage, but we did learn about fair use. We did take 3 pictures that follow the rules of composition, we named them well, and we turned into 3 pictures for the collage assignment. All these pictures followed a unified theme. Speaking of unified theme, we found 2 more high quality pictures on the internet that also followed that theme, and we saved them in our folder. And with those 2 pictures, we created a works cited page. So if none of this makes sense, it means you probably missed a video. All right. Also, we downloaded GIMP. So that's what we've done so far. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to make a new GIMP file. So with GIMP, we're going to go File, New. Okay. So you have to. Everybody has to do this. If you didn't do this, you're going to have crummy resolution. And we're going to choose a template. So we're going to go to the good old US of A letter. That's just a standard 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Now you can go tall, which is portrait, or you can go wide, which is landscape. I'm going to go wide, which is landscape, and I'm going to click OK. Okay. Now, actually, you know what? I want to show you this. So I'm getting started with the thing. I want to show you what I'm trying to make overall, and see if it's going to pop up. Okay, so here is what I'm going to attempt to make today, or at least get started with this today. So I'm going to take pictures that I took on a photography field trip one summer, and I'm going to make a collage out of it. Okay, so I'm going to get started with my background. Now that I've got a document that's the right size, I'm going to add a background. But first, you know what I'm actually doing? I'm going to save this. I'm going to go File, Save, and I'm going to save it in my folder called Creative Computers. I'm going to save it in a folder called Raster Design GIMP. I'm going to save it in a folder called Collage, and I'm going to call it Collage V1. I'm going to hit Save. I already actually started this. I'm starting over. Okay, so now I'm going to go File, and I'm going to Open as a layer. So basically, I'm going to add a picture as a brand new layer. So I'm going to go into my Assets folder. This is where I saved all of my pictures, and I'm going to go to the big flower red. This is what I'm going to use for my background picture. Okay, and I'm going to maximize this so you can see this is the size of the piece of paper, and this doesn't fill the page, so I'm going to make that bigger. So I'm going to go over here to my toolbox. Oh, you know what? Can't remember if I did this or not. So if I already did this, forgive me. But see how mine are in color? In order to get them to color, you have to go Edit, Preferences. You're going to go to Interface, Icon Theme, and you're going to click on Color and click OK. And that's going to put your toolbox in color. Okay, so we gotta use our tools to stretch this thing out. So we're going to go over here to our toolbox. We're going to click on this, and we're going to go to Scale. And we're going to click on this thing, and we're going to drag it up where we want it. We're going to drag it down where we want it. Oh, about right there. And I'm going to hit Enter when I like it. Okay, that looks about right. That's about how I want it to look. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, so you can see, by the way, here's over here is my layers. If you don't have layers, you could go Layers and do stuff over here with the layers. But anyway, here's your, I wonder if it's over here, Windows. Okay, well, hopefully yours shows up. All right, so anyway, so here's the layers. So you can turn this on and off if you want, but we're going to leave it on. But what we're going to do is we're going to add a layer on top of it. So I'm going to click right there. I'm going to add a layer, and this is going to be called Gradient, because we're going to add a gradient to this thing. All right, so to add a gradient to my gradient layer, we're going to come over here to the tools, and then underneath this bucket fill is the gradient tool. And so I'm going to click on this thing, and there's a wide variety of different ones. So I'm going to find, I want a pretty bold and beautiful one, just like you guys. You guys are bold and beautiful. I want to do something that matches you guys. All right, so I'm going to go with a full saturation rainbow. Okay, and so then once I click on that, then I can just basically click and drag the direction I want it to go. And so you can see it follows the direction I've done. Okay, so that's a little bit crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this layer, and I'm going to change the opacity a little bit. So I'm going to drag it down so it's a little bit see-through. All right, but that's still a little bit too crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the mode, or the blending mode, and I'm going to try dissolve, which I don't like that. So I'm going to hit the arrows on the arrow key, and it's going to scroll through all the different blending modes. And so I'm going to keep going until I find one I like. That one's not terrible. Terrible. Oh, that was kind of cool. I like light and only. So we'll keep playing around. Ooh, that's nice. That's pretty nice. That is not nice. Nice. Kind of subdued. I kind of like that. I don't know. Ooh, that's interesting. No. 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 Oh, I like that one. I'm going to stay with overlay. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter because I like that overlay. Okay, so now I'm going to come over here to my layers, and I'm ready to add a new layer. So I'm going to go File. I'm going to add in my next picture. So I'm going to go Open as Layer, and it's going to be, I'm going to go into my Assets, and I'm going to add in the picture of the dangling thingamajigger. I do not know what it is. And this little thing pops up. It says, you want to convert it? And it's like, yeah, we'll just convert it to the settings that we have. Okay, so now that layer is too big. So we're going to shrink this down to the right size. So what we'll do is we'll come over here to our handy dandy scale tool. And we'll click on this thing. And we're going to scale it about the size we want. So I'm going to say something like, oh, that's probably pretty good. Something like that. And hit enter to accept those changes. Okay, so now the thing is it looks cool, but it looks a little bit boring because what I'm going to do to make it more interesting, I'm going to round the edges, and then I'm going to add a drop shadow to make it stand out a little bit more. So let's start with the, well, actually, you know what? Hold on, let's take a look at something here. Oh, I was going to say, the scale tool sometimes when you're scaling stuff, sometimes you can look at the numbers of how big it is. Well, because I wanted to keep these all relatively the same size. But anyway, we'll just keep moving on. All right, so what we're going to do next is we're going to go to the rectangle tool. So this is a selection tool. We can use this to make selections. So what I'm going to do is round the corners. So I'm going to check that, and for me, I like 40 pixel. But anyway, so we'll pick the area that we want. So I'm going to click from here and down, something like that. Try to get those nice golden sections or the PowerPoints, something like that. Okay, and then we look to see if we like the roundedness of it. I do, and so I'm going to hit enter. So what I want to do is I want to delete the other stuff. So what I'm going to do is if I hit the delete key, watch what happens. That's bad. So we're going to hit edit, undo, or we could press Control Z. So we don't want to delete the selection. We want to delete everything but the selection. So we're going to go to Select, Invert. Okay, it doesn't look all that much different, but now everything but this picture is selected. So on the keyboard, I'm going to hit the delete key, and it's going to delete that. Okay, so that's what I wanted. So now I am going to add a drop shadow. So I'm going to go to the filters, and I'm going to go to light and shadow, and I'm going to do a drop shadow, and I actually had saved one, so this is one I made. So so basically what I did is I adjusted how far I want it. So we're going to go far this way. We're going to see how far we want it this way, something like that. And so you can, by the way, I clicked the preview button so I can see it happening. Oh, you know what? I wonder. Let's click OK and see if this came out. Let's go select none. Okay, so this did not come out because if you see how that's a corner, that shouldn't be a corner. It should be rounded like my selection. So I'm going to press Control and Z and get rid of that thing. Okay, so let's see how we're going to do this. Okay, so I figured it out. So basically what I had to do is I had to go select none. It was selecting more than just this stuff. So I'm going to go select none, and then I'm going to make sure I'm going to go over here in my layers. I'm going to click on the correct layer, and then from there I'm going to go to filters, and I'm going to go light and shadow. I'm going to go drop shadow, and I'm going to set it up the way I like. So we're going to go make sure it's a preview, and we can start adjusting these things. And I'm going to unclip them so that I can adjust them the way. I can't see anything happening down here, so that's probably because it's too opaque. So we're going to adjust it. There we go. So we're going to darken it up to where we can actually see it. Okay, and then we can adjust these where we want them. So I want it there, and then right there, yeah, something like that. Something like that. Okay, and then we'll adjust it back to where it's not quite so it's a little bit more see-through. Okay, and then I'm going to save that. I'm going to call this drop shadow 2. So we'll use the same drop shadow on all of them. I'll click OK, and you can see that it makes it stand out a little bit nicer. All right, so the final thing we're going to do to this is we're going to rotate it. So I'm going to go over here to my move or my tools here. I'm going to rotate it. And the nice thing is when you rotate it, the drop shadow kind of goes along with it. So that works out good. Okay, so I'm going to rotate it how I want and then hit enter to accept that. Okay, and I'm going to add one more picture just for fun here. So we'll go through it again. So we're going to go File. I don't know. Do you actually want me to watch me do it? I mean, you know what I'm after. I'm trying to create something where there's something that looks like this. So that's kind of what I'm going after. So this is a good way. So this thing is something like looks like this, where there's all the different ones. I think that's probably good for one video. So we're going to call it quits on this one. So that's a good start. So this is the idea of what I want you guys to do. I want you to place a bunch of pictures on a background and create a collage.